Okay, we should be live here on YouTube. We like to get topics from anybody who is watching and listening. So if you have any, can you guys make a video on how you explain a reduction to a seller? Yeah, we can definitely do that, but we could probably just do it on the spot here a little bit. We could just touch on this topic and probably cut this out into a short and post it on YouTube as well. So
Yeah.
Jasper, you want to touch on price reduction and how you guys go about that? And I can say how we do it or vice versa. Yeah, go ahead, jump in and just talk about price reduction process.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of stuff that I'm going to go over, we got from Matt Larson, or I got from Matt Larson. So, if you guys want to join like a virtual mastermind, he has one called Deal Lab, which is really good. But I used to
I,
do all the price reductions myself, and so I did that for a long, long time, and I was pretty successful with it. I pretty much got a price reduction every time. We're not as successful anymore. There's a lot more competition these days, so I kind of turned it off to my team, and then I also kind of fed them to the wolves because it's a lot harder these days when sellers have multiple offers and stuff. But when I used to do the price reductions, it was pretty successful. I think the main important thing is not just being greedy with a seller. Like you don't want to ask them for a $50,000 price reduction when you don't need it. We don't do that. So we only ask for price reductions when we actually need it, and very important, when you actually have a buyer solid offer on the other side. You don't want to just ask for a price reduction and just waste another 2, 3 weeks of their time trying to find a buyer. Like only do it if you have a solid buyer, not New Western, lined up on the other side that's ready to buy it. So just a few words before you even get into it. That's how I recommend. But then when you do get into it, I like to use an actual just truth, what's actually wrong with the property to anchor the seller and make them name the number, ask them to name a number, just like you do when you're initially negotiating with them. But basically I'll go into the call, let them know that we've got bad news for them, frame them that way, and just going into the call so that they
so
know, something's bad is coming, and they kind of brace themselves. So it's a little bit less of a bad thing when you actually deliver it, because instead of like backing out of the deal, which would be the other thing, their brain might be like, oh no, they're about to cancel on me. And they might start thinking like, I have all these other things I'm trying to pay off with the house sale and all this stuff. But instead, it's just like, no, we're not backing out. We just need it at this price. We could still get the deal closed. So that kind of framing it at the front. Hey, I got something bad to tell you. I'm sorry. Just like, are you sitting down? You could say something funny, but you just want to anchor that in the front, and then we just like to go into the actual facts. And so we're typically doing this obviously after we've seen the property or our buyer's seen the property, and we try to get feedback from them and or pictures so that we know exactly what's wrong with the property. So in some cases it's easier than others, right? Like if a seller goes under contract with you and their house is burned down, it's not going to be hard to get a price reduction. If they didn't tell you that and then you found out, it's like, okay, well, we can offer you land value, right? Like we're not going to be able, but if there's just something wrong with the property, like foundation, or maybe it needs a new roof that you didn't know about, or maybe I don't know, needs a new HVAC, like all the things that could be wrong with the property, or if it's just really dated. Like you want to anchor back to what they told your acquisition manager or yourself before you went under contract. Like a lot of times sellers will tell you, you ask them like, what's wrong with the house? And they're like, oh, nothing, it just needs a few cosmetics. And then you get in there and it looks like it's from
ready to
like,
move in.
yeah, yeah, you get in there and it looks like it's from 1940 and it's in a time capsule and it's never been updated, which is not bad. Let's say it's got good foundation and everything, but it needs all this work to remodel it. You just need to remind them like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, your property is in good shape. Like it looks like you've taken care of the place well, but we need to update this to 2025 standards. Like we can't put this property on the market in as is condition. The buyers are expecting certain things, and you can go down a list if you want to. You don't have to. You can be like, buyers are expecting double vanity with nice mirrors and nice fixtures and brand new walk-in shower and all this stuff. Like you can do line by line if you want, but you don't really have to. A lot of times we just use the 2025 standards line, and they kind of understand. It's like we can even send them a listing if they want, if they want to see
Yeah.
what we're talking about. But so that's kind of the next step, is we just anchor to the repairs and let them kind of paint the picture, like here's where your house is and here's where we need it to be, right, to be able to put on the market, and then kind of show them the cost that it would take to get it up to that. And then at this point, after you frame with bad news, you've told them kind of, either you've told them directly the cost or you've insinuated all these things need to be repaired, and they were probably thinking a bigger number than what you are going to say, right? Because if you tell them room by room, you're like, hey, we need to update the bathroom, the kitchen, we need a new roof, new HVAC, they might be thinking, oh my gosh, that's like $50,000. And then in reality, you come back and you're like, so we need a $20,000 price, right? It might work. And so that's what we do. And so then after that, we try to get them to name a number first. If they don't, we'll go in with our number. But we paint all that picture and we're like, hey, so based on everything I told you, like, what do you think it would cost, to get this property up to those 2025 standards that we mentioned? Like, what do you think, just ballpark, and then just be silent and just wait for them to say something. And then sometimes they'll give you a much bigger number than what you were even going to ask for. And in that case, you can not jump on it, but you can make the deal work easily. In some cases, they might give you a much lower offer. Like they might say, "Oh, well, that would only cost me like 5,000," and it's like gonna cost you 50,000. And sometimes you have to do a little bit more work there. But sometimes if you just be silent and you ask that question, they'll give you exactly what you need. So we ask that question. And then depending on what they say, if they say a number that works for us, we can maybe negotiate a little bit so we don't seem too eager, but we can kind of jump on that. And if they say a number that's way off, then we'll just be like, oh, wow, I don't think this deal is going to work. I'm so sorry. We would really need to be at this price. And then, just anchor them a little bit lower than where you need to be so that you have some room to negotiate and you don't look like rude that you're not going to negotiate at all. But yeah, then we just present the number and then, kind of see what happens. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. But, yeah.
What do you think your success rate is with price reductions at this point?
I think it's better than 50%, but it's probably close to 50%. I think it's maybe 60%, 70% maybe.
Yeah, I think we're in that same ballpark these days. Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Somewhat.
depends too. It depends. If we need a $50,000 price reduction, that's different. If we need like 10 to 20, I think we're pretty successful with those. But if it's a huge jump, we're less successful with those. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So that goes back to pricing it properly in the first
Yeah.
place. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I really have anything to add to that. I think, we're pretty much in the same boat with our process. We determine what we can get for the property based on conversations with buyers. Hopefully, like Jasper said, we have a buyer who would jump in if we get it down to a certain level. We don't want to just be getting somebody, I'm just saying the same thing, stuff you're saying. We don't want to get a price reduction with somebody, which is a hardship for them, and then be like, oh, sorry about that. We still couldn't, do this deal.
Yeah.
That's
No.
just not good karma and not really, don't want to be doing that with sellers. So have somebody who's going to pay you a price and is committed to the price, and then go in there and know what you're going for. Let them name their price first. Same thing you said, Jasper. I always do the level set of like, man, you're not going to like this. I've got some bad news or whatever. And you get in there so they can really hit rock bottom emotionally, so that whatever you do hopefully brings them up a little bit from rock bottom, and you can
Yeah.
have a conversation. And then, yeah, get them to name the price. Like, well, what, based on what I'm telling you, what do you think you could do? Can you move a little bit off where we were? I'd like to get this closed with you. I'm sorry that we had to come in and reduce this, but it was just different than we thought. And can you help us out? And a lot of times they'll name a number, and if not, then you have your number loaded up already that you need to get to, and start off a little bit below that, and hopefully you can get to that number. So
Yeah.
basically, you said I don't really have anything to add, but yeah, I think we have a few more questions. So let's just move on, because I know we're getting close to the end here of
Yeah,
our
I was
hour.
going to add one more thing on that, just real quick though.
Okay.
After they agree to the price reduction, make sure you treat it like an initial contract once again, and you create a sense of urgency. And then also you want to throw it back their way a little bit. So let's say they agree to your thing. Don't be like, oh, awesome, can't wait to get this closed. Send over the DocuSign in 5 minutes, and then hang up the phone. They're not going to sign, and you're going to lose that. And so what you want to do is throw it back a little bit. If they accept it, right, verbally, you're like, okay, just to make sure, are you sure this is going to work for you? I know it's a big drop from where we were initially. Like if we can get this done, if I can go get the approval from my team, are we sure? Like, is this going to work for you? Because I don't want to put you in a tough spot. Like, get that reconfirmation from them, and then once they reconfirm, you want to treat it like an initial contract. Be like, okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. We're really grateful for the second chance to get this closed with you. I'm just going to go ahead and prepare a simple one-page amendment for you. I'm going to send over in 5-10 minutes. We can walk through it on the phone. Only thing is, I can only hold this for blank amount of time, right? You want to put a sense of urgency on that so that they don't go and shop the revised offer and then do the whole process again. So just want to add that part in.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. You always want to anchor that as much as possible. And it's like, I can't remember the term for it, when you try and unsell your sale, right? In a way, like,
Yeah.
is there a reason you wouldn't do this, or, are you sure this is going to work for you? Is there anybody you need to talk to? And all that stuff that could be objections. You just try and shore up that agreement.
Yeah.
Um,